What's going on, y'all? Peace and love. I am Stevie Zenith, Plex Boogie in the building, and this is the Rich From Anywhere podcast. And today we got some more sauce for y'all. Once again, really excited about bringing independent artists more gems, more actionable things that they can do. Today we have Dave Melhado in the building. He's actually the director of artist marketing at United Masters, and he's been everywhere in the music industry. He's very knowledgeable about how artists move and, marketing for artists, very knowledgeable. So we definitely wanted to get him on. So Dave, I appreciate you jumping on today, brother.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me, man. It's a long time coming. I've seen you guys on the rise for a little minute, so I've been following the movement.
For real, man. Yeah, just for those of y'all that don't know, we met back in Fort Myers when we were doing our independent grind, initially. But Dave's always been good people. Anytime, we have questions for him or anything like that, he's always given us an answer. And we've seen his meteoric rise up the ranks. You know what I'm saying, man? But Dave, so obviously we know you pretty well, but the people listening don't. So kind of give a little backstory on how you got into all of this stuff.
Yeah, so I guess around the time when we met in college, I had already done my first opportunity was I was an intern for the Malden Brand Agency, which is Jermaine Dupri's dad's company at the time, where essentially I was working on the Scream tour. So everything from the planning, I was an intern, but so I got to see firsthand what it took to go and build that tour. And back in the 2000s, early 2000s, it was the Scream tour with Lil Bow Wow and Omarion was one of the biggest tours that was out. So had a chance to work on that. After I left to go back to school, I got a job at the radio station, but then I was also a college rep for Atlantic Records. So that was during the time where it was T.I., Flo Rida, Lupe Fiasco. These guys was on the rise. Plies. They was really starting to build momentum and traction, and being in college and working for Atlantic was the best possible job, right? So when artists would come to the market, I would set up the meet and greets on campus, set up the meet and greets at all the retail, all the nightclub kind of walkthroughs. I would kind of coordinate those things. And then just between the Atlantic Records lifestyle rep and then also working for the radio station as promotions coordinator, I built tons of relationships. And, in this business, relationships are key. And when I graduated school, the first thought was I got to get to a bigger city so that way I can really create opportunity. And I went back to Tampa for a little bit, and I worked at this spot called Hip Hop Soda Shop with Dr. Ben Chavis and Brian Peters. They started the first hip hop company. So between the radio station, or first hip hop company on Wall Street, it was publicly traded. So between working with Atlantic Records, working with the radio station, Super Bowl happening in Tampa, and working at the Hip Hop Soda Shop, I had 4 different jobs that I was working, and I was building tons of relationships. So when I decided I wanted to go to Atlanta, I just started calling on all those people who I met over the years, and they was yo, come on, let's go. And some of those people were Ray Daniels, he's SVP at Warner Records right now. Court Stewart, who is known for Khalid and Keep Cool, where they had Normani and a number of other artists. And then Mark Barnes, who was managing an artist named Verse Simmons. So when I moved to Atlanta, I naturally linked up with Mark Barnes, who was, he was already on the road with Verse. Verse had a song called Buy You Around. Went on the road with them and just kind of really worked my way up. So I started off as assistant to road manager to DJ and road manager to manager, where Verse was making the transition from being an artist signed to Def Jam and Akon and Boo, and then also being a songwriter. So during that time, we had placements, 6 songs on Chris Brown's X album, had placements on Jay-Z, Kanye on Watch the Throne, where he participated on Who Gonna Stop Me, a number of other artists. And 6 years after working with him, we parted ways. And that happened at a unique time in my career because the business was changing. Streaming became, it was becoming more prevalent. they was moving away from iTunes, and everybody was diving into streaming data, and everyone was trying to figure out like, yo, is streaming gonna be the wave? And then platforms like Next Big Sound came out with Pandora, so it allowed you to be able to see the analytics and data and all the fan insights. So I really started diving into like the digital side of the business. So mind you, I had the promotional background from working at Atlantic and the radio station, had management background where it was like artist management, developing rollouts, then had like publishing and songwriter producer kind of like experience working with Verse as a songwriter and producer. And then I was like, yo, the business is changing so much. I really tried to start mastering like the marketing and digital aspects of it. And, you know, the first 3 months after parting ways, like I really was just trying to figure out like, yo, what is going to be my niche? And that part I always say was key in my career, because I learned how to sell myself as opposed to selling the artists that I was working with. Because coming out of college, the first thing I did was, yo, sell this artist so that way you can get paid. And during those 3 months, I learned how to sell myself based off of the skills that I can offer. So I ran into this attorney who had a company called StreamCut. There was a YouTube monetization company. Created a deal with him where they gave me free office space as opposed in exchange for me just consulting their artists that's on their platform with like marketing strategy that could help drive more streams to their YouTube. And that evolved into them becoming a distribution company, where the first artist I signed was Gunna. So I worked with Gunna for 1.5 years, 2 years through his management and very closely with his team. And we developed him to the point where he went on and did a deal with 300. But during that time, like I really saw that the business was shifting and it was changing really fast. The success of those projects kind of led to an opportunity at Rock Nation, where I had a chance to work with a team where it fast-tracked kind of like my education in the business, where I got to see the whole other side from the inside of how a major label operates. And, you know, ultimately it led me to an opportunity as head of artist marketing at United Masters, where, you know, like being on the outside as an artist manager, I was really passionate about like the independent grind, building artists up from the ground up. And I had been known for building artists from the ground up, like understanding those factors and knowing those triggers that's going to make in a couple months, we're going to have our tipping point moment. So like I really started to hone into those things where other executives or other artists or even managers wasn't really quite sure if it was what they was doing was working. I was able to come in and add those little small things to help push it over the top. So that's kind of been my career trajectory to this point.
People would kill to have that type of that type of run. You feel me? Like you did it right because you understood the power of relationships and how important it is to nurture those. And that's gotten you to amazing places. So for those of y'all listening right now, talent is one thing. You do have to be talented. You do have to, you know, hone your skills and perfect your craft and at least get better at it. But if you don't have relationships, it's going to be really, really tough for you to move up the ranks like you want to, you know? So I think that's a great story, Dave. And touching back on the whole United Masters thing, man, a lot of people listening right now have heard of United Masters, but they might not know exactly what you all do and what you all specialize in. So can you kind of give us a breakdown of what United Masters does? Yeah,
so United Masters was founded by CEO Steve Stout, who set out to build a company that was going to operationalize independence. So through that, he created this platform that essentially created a record company in your pocket. So everything that you would need as an independent artist, you can log into your phone and be able to do those things and have access to it. So everything from distributing your song, like uploading your song to the platform, getting your metadata correct, uploading your artwork, then delivering it to all the DSPs. Then once it's live, being able to log in and see real-time streaming data from Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube. So imagine logging into your app and you get to see all your data right there. So most artists have to go to Spotify for Artists and then go to Apple for Artists backend or Apple Connect so that way they can, or iTunes Connect so that they can see their data. But you can see it all in one place. The third piece is the transparency. So most artists, when they sign to a major label, they don't know where their money's coming. But we're like how much they're making off of each stream. All the financial stats and data is in the back end. So like you get your statements every month. You automatically sync up with PayPal. So on the 14th, 15th of every month, you're receiving a check. So that was like one of the biggest things, like the transparency, to be able to see your streams and also see how much money you're making. And then the fourth piece is the exclusives. So United Masters is a part of a larger company called Translation Enterprises, which part of that company is Translation, the agency. So a big part of our business is aligning brands with culture and then the artists, right? So Steve and the team went out and did a deal with the NBA where essentially the NBA uses our music exclusively on all their social clips. And that's how the relationship started. But then naturally it evolved into now we're creating opportunities for artists. Last year we had an artist perform at Art Basel during the NBA art exhibit. For NBA All-Star, we had artists fly into Chicago and they performed on the NBA crossover stage for 3 days, where it was think about Complex Con in the NBA. It was an exhibit similar to that, and we took over the stage, so we curated the performances. And then the NBA and Apple Music partnered with United Masters to launch Baseline, which is an independent artist playlist. So many artists look for Rap Life on Apple and Spotify's Rap Caviar Most Necessary, but we created a real estate for artists, for independent artists on Apple Music. And every Wednesday and Thursday, it lives on the front page of Apple Music. So when it's updated, so we don't have to fight for that Friday positioning. Like we have our own day for independent artists, which is Wednesdays. So, like that's where the brand kind of opportunities, exclusives can come in, where you shouldn't have to be signed to a major label to be able to get your music synced, right? We struck a deal with NBA 2K where we curated the soundtrack last year. And we ran a UGC contest where artists submitted their music with over 10,000 some submissions, and we selected 10 of them. We flew them to New York. Kevin Durant and Stout, they announced or selected the winners, made phone calls to tell the artists that they won. And just imagine, like, you're an artist in a small town and you submitted your song through United Masters and now you're on the NBA soundtrack, right? And they're flying me to New York and now I'm creating content that's going to be blasted across NBA 2K socials. So those are opportunities that, to me, is our differentiator for artists as opposed to other distribution companies, like where they're just delivering your songs to Spotify and Apple and charging you extra for delivery to to get your songs on Instagram stories, and charging you extra to get your song on TikTok, and charging you extra to get your song to collect your publishing royalties, and charging you extras, all these hidden fees. Like, we wanted to create an all-inclusive experience for artists. So essentially, you can come to a one-stop place and be able to utilize our platform. And then another area is most artists, when they drop songs, you have to go to Smart URL, Linkfire, or Feature FM to make a link to share your music. As soon as you deliver your music through our platform and it's approved, a link is automatically generated. It's a pre-save. So now you can share that link. You don't have to make another link when it's time to drop, when your songs go live, because that link automatically converts to a master link, which is all the streaming platforms. And what makes our product so much better than what else is on the market is we have a widget on there that pops up that allows artists to put your phone number, or fans to put their phone numbers in for you to collect emails. So now you're building your database. So now you can own your fan base and take your fans to any platform that you want to take them to.
Yo, like, you're literally answering You're answering like all our questions right now, bro. I was literally about to ask you about the smart URL play.
My
But
bad,
one
man.
thing
I'll wait for the questions. I'll wait for the
no,
questions.
no, 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 no. That's it's beautiful, bro. But one thing I wanted to ask, because we're big on like Facebook and Instagram ads and things like that. So like for you, are you aware if you all have pixel integration within those smart links? Are you aware? Do you know if you do?
Yeah, so there's a pixel in there that allows you to be able to retarget in your ad
Oh,
campaign.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh,
Yeah, because the one thing I was hearing too, you were saying about all those are amazing features, by the way. The one that kind of stuck out to me is the data and being able to kind of like look in and see all your metrics and all that kind of stuff. Is there a way for artists to kind of like know exactly like kind of like basically mine the data that and see where their artists are so they can kind of extract that? Because I'm thinking from a marketing standpoint, the biggest thing that we have is data and understanding, you know, where our audience is and all the kind of behind the scenes stuff that we can extract that data and basically go and run really powerful campaigns with that kind of.
Yeah, for sure. So like when anytime I build my marketing plans, like I don't go to Spotify for artists to pull the data. I pull it directly from our platform. And I take screenshots, export data, like the numbers, and it gives me all the insights I need. I know exactly where my fans are. I know and linking it with the master link. The master link also gives you great data as well. It tells you how many clicks you're receiving, what platforms, where they're listening from. And on the back end of our platform, it tells you who your fans are, like demographics, and it's pulling all that data from all these different platforms into our platform. We also give artists the opportunity to be able to sync up all their socials. So the more socials you sync up, the more data that you're able to kind of see on the back end.
Talk a little bit about, I know you talked about how you guys have widgets where you can collect emails and collect phone numbers and stuff. Like we always preach this too about owning your data is so important, but you're someone who's deep in the industry and deep in this shit. Like talk to the audience and let them know how powerful and how important it is to own the data and kind of owning your fan base.
Yeah. I mean, if Instagram decides to kick you off, then what are you going to do? You know what I mean? You invested all your time, you invested in Facebook ads to grow your following on Instagram, and now it's gone. Mm-hmm. You know, so like perfect example, we had a project with Untitled Chapter before the end of the year last year, and his Instagram got banned for whatever reason the week before our album was supposed to drop. So the natural thing is to panic because it's like, yo, he had 3 million followers. But we also grew a database of all his fans from the master link. So we had emails and we had phone numbers that we then started sending text messages to. And we mobilized his fans as like his army of people who was amplifying his message. So without that data, we would have been behind the eight ball. Like we would have failed, you know, and it happened right before the holiday, Christmas time. So we was able to run all our marketing strategy through that database. Like we was sending alerts, we was making groups on all his platforms, all on other platforms, just kind of like letting the fans be that mouthpiece for us.
You're so vulnerable when you're just kind of like betting on the fact that Instagram is going to be around forever, or Facebook or TikTok or whatever it is. Like if you guys aren't owning your data, you're so vulnerable. So definitely listen to that man. Like when he says, yo, collect your data, like it's so important, man.
For real, man. So Dave, I wanted to ask you, man, like as far as your position at United Masters, I know you're head of the artist oversight on the marketing end. So kind of break down, like, what is your job exactly? Like let's just say I'm an independent artist that's kind of just starting out, just getting my wave going. Where does the marketing aspect on United Masters come into play for me as an independent artist? Is that a thing, or is it more so like the higher tier artists that are on United Masters, you handle their marketing?
Yeah, so the dopest part about like my role is because we're such a small company, I get to touch a lot of different areas of the business. It's more entrepreneurial in my role. I don't focus 100% of my time on the artist marketing. I get to work in collaboration with the team that's out in San Fran, which is the engineers and the product team. So we're building product so that way we can serve more artists and make sure that what we're building is useful to them. I get to sit between our team at United Masters, but then also work closely with the team at Translation. So anytime Translation is putting together different campaigns, they need insight on a specific artist or just different ideas in the music space, I get to tap in and lend some of my thought leadership there. But then on the artist side, then I get to work closely on the brand. So like as we're building the brand identity and putting the marketing plan for our different launches, I help lead those charges on that front. And then for our artists, we have a couple different tiers that are like internal, that based off of a number of different factors, whether you're recruited by one of the A&Rs that we have on our team, or you start developing traction in our platform, we'll start adding value or more value to you based off of the traction that you're building. So we are able to see when an artist is starting to perform really well. And if you're performing well, we'll come to you and say like, yo, look, this is what we should potentially do to help add more fuel to the fire of what you're already building organically on your own. And that's how we kind of like allocate resources based off of momentum that you're building. When you're independent, you got to do a lot of things self-sustained, and once you start building some traction, we want to help you continue that momentum so that way you can, catch a wave. Like, so this year, some artists that like uploading their first songs, like Lil Zell, he uploaded his song, LMK. It was the number one song on TikTok and the number one song on viral charts for a couple weeks. A couple weeks ago, and still today, like BMW Kenny has the number one song on TikTok. He has a song called Wipe. I don't know if you guys have seen the Wipe It Down challenge. Like, yep. Kid uploaded a song. The next week, the song started going viral on TikTok, and now every major label is calling him. So like when we see those things that are happening, we get behind the artists and try to find ways that we can just add fuel to the fire. We'll start reaching out to the playlist, like curators and the marketing leads at the Spotify and Apple Music and all the DSPs. And then we'll look to see how do we align them with the brands that we're working with as soon as we see more opportunities. But as an artist, you can sign up to the website, sign up, put your music out, and you have access to all the brand opportunities there to submit your music for consideration.
I think that's dope. And for those of y'all listening, here's the deal, right? You need to learn this skill set of digital marketing. Reason being is because if you sign up for something like United Masters and you're able to drive millions of people to your master link and collect a bunch of data, now all of a sudden you're going to get on United Masters radar. And then from there, you don't even have to go looking for somebody else to help you with your career, because they have it internally right there. So that's super powerful. And based off of just everything you're saying about United Masters, man, I would definitely encourage those independent artists listening to jump on it and acquire the skill set of digital marketing, because that 1-2 combo is vicious. Dave, let me ask you this. As far as the metrics that y'all look for, can you give a little bit of insight as to what that is? Are y'all looking at streaming data? Are y'all looking at like email addresses or phone numbers collected? Are y'all looking at web page hits? What exactly is it that y'all are looking at?
Yeah, most of the time it's streaming data. A number of different factors, like, our A&R research team is probably the best in the business, like one of the best in the business. They're aggregating all this data, looking at different trends, looking at week over week, like how much growth you're having on certain platforms. So if you are streaming, see an increase in streaming, but then you also have a number of impressions on social, and you have all these different factors. Like our A&R team they're all young beasts, like, and they're hungry. So they're out there, they're heavy into the culture. So they're checking to see what's happening. They're cross-referencing it with our data that's in our dashboards. And like, they're really on the front lines, like really supporting the artists and making the first level of content and adding value to them.
You're selling us right now on United Masters too, because we're with TuneCore right now, but after this call, we about to UnitedMasters.com. You feel me? We're about to go sign up.
TuneCore must be hitting you over the head with all those extra fees.
For real, they do. They really do, man. Another thing that y'all are big on is y'all don't take anyone's masters, right? Y'all don't dip into anyone's masters or anything like that. So can you kind of explain that to the independent artists who are kind of leery about jumping onto any type of platforms or distribution companies? Can you kind of explain that? Because you guys are kind of operating as a label but independently. So how do y'all eat?
Yeah, so like, your masters is something that is so precious. It has so much value. Something that continues to accumulate money for you over the years and over time. Like, it's something that you can leave to your kids and their kids. It's legacy that you can create with owning your masters, ownership of your masters, ownership of your publishing. And honestly, no other person should own your art. You shouldn't, in my personal opinion, giving your masters for 18 cent or 23%, if you're lucky, royalty is almost criminal, because that's why you see so many artists that are upset with their labels. They're on Twitter or they're on Instagram, like crying out like, yo, please let me off the label. I should have never did this deal. It's crazy because like that used to be what we used to, like that used to be our North Star. To be like, yo, when I get on, I'm gonna get this deal and I'm gonna do $1 million deal. Like now labels are throwing $8 million deals out just because they want to have market share. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not really because they're invested in and they really believe in the talent. They might get behind a couple priority acts, but what happens to the other artists, 50 or so artists that are not priorities and have tons of talent that can't use their voice because they're beholden to a release calendar, right? Or they have to, there's no more budget in their A&R spend, or the A&Rs are just not focused because there's Lil Nas X, or there's this artist that just started going viral. You know what I mean? And especially in a time like this during the pandemic, like being able to have your freedom to be able to release music whenever you want to, like that's key. You being able to say like, yo, in the current times, like especially what's going on in the world today, like literally in real time, you can record something just to put that energy and put those emotions on a track and then be able to put it out to the world before the end of the week. You should always have that power. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the reason why like we're so, we stand besides like, we'll never take your masters. We're creating more ways for you to be able to tap in and have more control over your career. And right now, our offering is 90-10 split. So we take a 10% royalty, but that's going to change as well. Like, so we're constantly evolving and trying to make our product better and give artists more offerings and opportunities to be able to really start building a career and operationalize that independence and that kind of like dream. Like they don't have to think about signing to a major label as the North Star. And if they decide that they want to go do a major label deal, because some artists, they might not have great management, or they might need that additional support where they're not really that savvy and they just need extra support, like build some leverage, go into that deal with 20 million streams and 50 million streams, so that way you have some leverage, so that way you can go in there and say, yo, I'm not going to take that 18% royalty. I need to do a licensing deal. I want to maintain my masters. I want to have reversion on my public. Like, you want to be able to build up the leverage so that way you are not thirsty for a deal. Most of these kids will jump on the $1 million deal, but if you're independent and you're thriving, yo, if you can calculate, yo, off of my 80% or 90% split that I can make $1 million in 4 months based off of the royalties I'm making every month. And it's not the case for every artist, but every artist is not going to get it's not going to get like a look from every label. But you can be an independent artist and make $20,000, $10,000, and that's a career. That's $120,000 that you're making for the year as an independent artist, and you can do that successfully and continue to build your brand. And that's why there's independent artists that are really out here thriving. Like Russ put up a picture the other day on his Instagram that basically showed just 2 songs from his catalog, 2 songs that was on in his dashboard, where he saw that it was like both of them had 7 figures, both was over $1 million, the royalties that he's made off of it. And he's like, yo, these are only 2 songs. I have over 300. Could you imagine? Like, even if you went into a major label deal, don't give them your back catalog. Why would you give them your back catalog when you're already earning money on those things?
I might not understand the gems that this man is dropping on y'all. Y'all might need to rewind this and take that back about 5 times. That was so heavy. And like, yo, everything that y'all are doing over there, it really aligns with us so much. It's crazy because over at United Masters and here at Rich From Anywhere too, we are heavily big on just empowering the artists to basically have that independent career, have that independence. Because like you said, things can take off so quickly, and having your freedom is so important, and having the understanding and the strategies to be able to market yourself and build your own influence. It's going to get you everywhere that you want to go, whether you want to stay independent forever or whether ultimately you do want to go sign with a major. You should never sign with a major until you have enough influence and enough leverage going into that deal. Because as you know, Dave, I'm sure you know, like back in the day, there was that saying, like, you know, there's no such thing as a good first deal. I'm sure you heard that shit before.
Yeah, man. Like I've had artists in major label deals, like as a manager, where the label's like, nah, you need to go holler at your A&R. And the A&R's like, nah, you need to holler at your production company. And you can't get no answers. So then you're stuck, and now you're just in a space where you can't release music. Nobody's giving you answers. You can't get a budget. And you're just sitting there and you're forced to just like find something else to do. Like I know artists that have signed to major labels that got jobs. I know artists that have signed to major labels and driving Uber. Like, yo, this is the real reality of like artists are starving out here unless you're a priority for the major label. And that's only a handful of artists, you know, and then they're going to consistently sign new artists because it's all about the market share.
Another thing too that you brought up that I kind of want to touch on is the analytics, right? The vanity metrics. This is what people like to call them. Like, how important are those vanity metrics? Like, you know, your Instagram following and like the amount of likes you get on a post. What are you looking for, like, in an artist that you would consider helping them out with some marketing and bringing them under your wing? What metrics are you looking for?
Well, me personally, I still look for like talent. So like, I'm still looking for that. I'm not looking for the artist that just goes viral. Like it's cool because I got a formula. So if an artist starts building buzz on their own, I got a couple things that I can help add value to push them into closer to the mainstream. But I still have a love and a desire to find that artist that has really dope talent and just needs a little bit of molding, has a great voice or has crazy bars that we can build a story around. That I can build a narrative. And then I could just start using all the things that I know in the digital space. Like I know how to run Facebook ads. I know how I can build your streams organically over 6 months. So that way you start hitting different algorithms. I know all that stuff. I know the agencies where I would go to get you a TikTok campaign going. I know all the agencies so that way I can go in the different pages and the ecosystem where you can control attention because you got posts on all these different meme pages. Or you have like I know all those different kind of routes, and a good digital person or a good product manager or marketing person will know all those things. But that's why it's so exciting for me to be able to say like, yo, this artist has some really good, like really talented, and building the story around it. And now we're going to build this from the ground up.
You blowing us away right now, Dave. Plex, I think like, for instance, like we have a student that got to 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify through Facebook ads. He was running Facebook ads, caught the attention of some curators, got added to some playlists, and the rest is history. So like somebody like that, I think if he was on United Masters, that would be somebody that, you know, you all could kind of take under your wing and kind of help to grow. So that's why, like, for those of y'all listening, it's really important to get to a company like United Masters, because when we're teaching you these digital marketing techniques, to put you on the radar, to get you in front of a worldwide audience, you know, I think it's very, very important to find that next step. Like, obviously, you're gonna get in front of millions of people running ads, no matter what. So obviously, talent has something to do with you actually turning them into fans. But once they become fans, I mean, we have our strategies too to help you to sell out events and things like that. But wouldn't it be dope to have that strategy and then to have United Masters to be able to bring you in front of different brands, set up brand partnerships with you, get you on the radar? And like Dave's talking about, he can get you on TikTok campaigns, and he can get you additional streams and things like that. But it's all about working synergistically together in order to make it work, man. So I definitely appreciate the insight that you dropped on that, man, for real.
Yeah, but we have a couple students that have that type of potential too. And we tell our students, we have dozens of students at this point, and we tell all of them, yo, like, we like really want to let them know, like, dude, we can give you the best marketing strategies in the world. Like, I can lay it out on a silver platter for you. But if your music sucks, bro, this shit, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, look at the whiteboard behind you. You got all the marketing strategies back there on the whiteboard.
I got my shit and just zoom in when they're done. Like, it's all about the funnel. Teach people how to build a real funnel, pull them in through the top of funnel, cold traffic acquisition, bring them in, middle of funnel awareness, bring them in, turn them into super fans, and we bring them down to the bottom of funnel, and that's where the transactions happen. That's where you're selling e-commerce. That's where you're selling your tickets. And it's like this cyclical thing that's always happening, right? And we teach them these strategies on how to do it. And I'm telling you, it's always the ones that have real dope music that are getting the great results. Yep. And the ones that their music's kind of subpar or it's not really there, they're the ones that are complaining this shit doesn't work. But I'm like, hey, it's not that it doesn't work, dog.
Yeah.
You don't work. You don't work. That's the problem.
Stout always says this thing like talent versus fame. You know, which one is gonna win in the end. But it's like, to me, it's like you still have to have talent nowadays, because otherwise, like, you can be that moment that goes viral and have that quick little window of excitement and attention, or you can build your fan base. Like, look at J. Cole. Like, J. Cole is somebody who built his fan base over time. You know, like you naturally saw each project how his fan base grew, and that's how it's supposed to be. Everybody wants that quick hit, but can you sustain that success? There's tons of songs that go top of the charts on radio, but they can't sell out no shows.
Another question I wanted to ask you, since you brought that up, as far as streams of income, what are the biggest streams of income for independent artists? And do you have any suggestions to those independent artists that are watching, that are just getting started out? Do you have any suggestions on what type of things they should aim for or aim to do in order to bring in some other streams of income?
Well, I think you just got to be creative. Like, I think anything from merch, right? Finding ways that you can do limited merch drops to increase demand and excitement. But then, as a independent artist, you might not have the opportunity to be able to do shows where you're getting $10,000 a date, but you got to be creative just to figure out ways that, you're attaching your music or attaching your brand with something else, so that way you're platforming. Because ultimately, like, your goal is to build a platform and always be like engaging with your fans. Like, you got to super serve the fans that are there with you. So whether you have 100 or you have 100,000, you got to be serving those fans. To your point, Plex, about the funnel, it's like in that middle of the funnel, it's that consideration phase. It's like, yo, how are you going to keep super serving your fans so that way they feel like, yo, you know what? I should buy more from you, right? Same kind of concept with Ryan Leslie or even Nipsey, like, rest in peace. Where he had it where you can pay, proud to pay, So it's about creating different unique offerings and then finding a creative way to market it, but then super serving your fans so that way they want to spend more money with you. Like, I know artists who started Discord channels. Like, we started a Discord channel so that way our artists can communicate with each other. But like, there's artists that are charging for the Discord channel. There's producers that are charging for Discord channels so that way you get access to their beat packs. Like, you just got to think outside the box. Like, there's revenue on Twitch. You can upgrade through United Masters your account for a priority artist to be able to upgrade to monetize, right? Then YouTube monetization. Like, there's different things that you can do on different platforms once you build an audience that can drive more revenue.
When you say that, I know a lot of people are going to be like, man, this shit is just so overwhelming. Like, there's so much to do. I got to make my music, and then I got to follow up with all my fans and stuff like that. And it's true. It is a lot of work, but that's why in some of it will be manual stuff. But you guys also, I think a big gem is that you guys got to take advantage of as much automation as you possibly can too, because there's a lot of things in that middle of funnel consideration phase where you can take advantage of automation. Things like retargeting, like even that we were talking about earlier, you can set up very, very sophisticated retargeting funnels where people are going in and out of different different basically segments where you're showing people different creatives based off of where they're at in their journey. If you know how to do these things, you can set it up once and literally be targeting people and pulling them through a journey for the next infinity if you want to, depending on how often you want to do it. And then also things like email marketing sequences where you can literally pull people into a sequence. And if you have the knowledge of understanding how to write copy and pull people through stories, and you can, again, it's the same thing. You can pull people through an email sequence for the next 2 years if you want to. You know, like you said, was a really good idea too with the limited merch releases and stuff like that. That's something that you're always going to have to do. But I think adding automation to it, it would help take a lot off your plate. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
A lot of things left on the table in the music industry as far as the marketing goes. I feel like, and like you were talking about, being innovative is the name of the game, doing something different that people haven't seen before, you know? So like with us, we come from, I mean, we have a digital marketing ad agency as well. So we kind of come from that world also, as well as like the e-commerce world and building e-commerce brands. But there's so many different things you could do from like creating detailed funnels inside of ClickFunnels and you know, setting up OTO pages and checkout pages and offering more on the thank you page. And there's just so many things that you can do when you really dive in. But like Plex was talking about, that goes into like automation. You set it up once and it's done. You don't got to worry about it anymore. And we've done it time and time again, like working on these tours with Cato. He's getting like 10x return on ad spend. And all we had to do was go in and set the ad up one time, build out the whole funnel, and the rest is history. You know what I'm saying?
Cato's killing it. I'm on it doing it, so I get all the stuff you're pushing out.
So yeah, shout out to Cato, man. Cato's really good people. We've been running the ads for his Sound Advice tour, and he's on another level right now. You know, so shout out to Cato. Well, yo, Dave, we definitely appreciate you, man. We'd be remiss if we didn't kind of address everything that's been going on right now. The social injustices that are happening to Black and brown people around the world. And, you know, I've checked out your post, Dave, about Campaign Zero. And actually on Tuesday, I was doing a lot of research on them. And then I saw your post. I was like, oh, yo, that's what's up. So are y'all kind of partnering with Campaign Zero? Can you kind of explain what that is just for the people out there that are interested in donating to them?
Yeah, like we haven't partnered with them, but in the light of the moment, you know, the industry took Blackout Tuesday, and instead of taking the day off, we use it as a day of action. Like, how can we do our part in educating ourselves and then spreading the word? So our president, Lauren, she brought in D-Ray and another member from his team, and they kind of walked us through the steps of, you know, use of force, you know, changing the use of force laws for the police force, and actionable steps that mayors can take to change the law, you know, and to hold the police accountable in every city. So, you know, something that, you know, I'm all about action, and, you know, what are the action items and how can we educate ourselves? So everything from voters awareness is like, yo, that's how we're going to win at the polls, right? If we want real change, we have to start there. And then, you know, just educating ourselves. Like, you know, this is a country that was, we was brought here and built it. So now it's a matter of us to educate ourselves. Like, we didn't make the system. So now it's about rebuilding it in a way that it benefits us all.
For sure. I completely agree, man. So for those of y'all that are interested in learning more about Campaign Zero, they have some really, really good policy ideas. I did a deep dive, but y'all can go to campaignzero.org to find out more about them, and you can also donate to them. I actually donated to them the other day. But yo, with that being said, Dave, we appreciate your time, bro. Thanks for taking some time out, man. This is gonna be one for the record books. I think for our community, especially, like, they're gonna really, really love this interview, man. You were dropping so much sauce, bro. So much sauce, man.
You know, the independent artist space is something I'm really like passionate about. I got an opportunity to see all the different sides of the business, and, you know, like right now I'm really passionate about like helping these artists find a way. You know, like we're serving so many artists on our platform, and, you know, the fact that I know that on the 15th of every month, they're receiving a check from us is extremely fulfilling.
That's big, man. Well, you got our support here at Rich From Anywhere. We definitely 100% support United Masters and everything that they're doing, everything that they stand for. So everybody who's watching this, y'all go check them out right now. Y'all go sign up right now.
That's what we about to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, for real. And if y'all ever need any help or anything at all from us as well, man, y'all don't hesitate to hit us up. You know, we'll be there to help y'all with whatever y'all need. You know what I'm saying? So,
Most definitely. Well, I appreciate y'all for having me, man.
Tell everyone where they can find you at, your social media, United Masters, all of that.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, United Masters at United Masters on Instagram. I'm also on Instagram. My name on Instagram is my first name, Dave.Melhado. You can always text me as well. My number is 646-787-0824. So send me a text, put your name and number in my phone book, and then we can, communicate and go from there.
RFA squad, this has been a good one. I hope y'all got y'all notepads out. If y'all need to replay this video, I suggest it. This has been the RFA Podcast. Peace and love.